Hello there, Mr. Mesh here. I hope you are enjoying economics. So today we are going to look at demand and supply. This is referred to often as the workhorse of economics, especially in microeconomics. Demand and supply is a very important model that economists use. Make sure you understand how demand and supply works. This concept is going to come back over and over again in your economics journey. All right, so let's get into it. I'm not going to focus too much on the theory for this. I'm going to focus on the diagrams. I'm going to focus on the diagrams, and the theory you can read and understand. I do go through the theory a bit, but not too much. What is demand? When you look at demand, we are basically looking at the amount of goods and services that consumers are willing and able to. So there has to be a willingness to buy the goods, but there has to be an ability. I mean, if you are willing to buy a Lamborghini but you can't afford it, you are not considered to be part of the demand for Lamborghinis. You need to have the purchasing power. You need to have the purchasing power for you to be considered as part of the demand. Okay, and this is pretty straightforward when you talk about the concept of the law of demand. It's straightforward in the sense that it makes sense. You know, it's quite intuitive. The law of demand states that the law of demand, it states that price and quantity demanded have a negative or an inverse relationship. Price and quantity demanded have a negative or an inverse relationship. What that means is that as the price is going up, the quantity demanded is going to go down. So this makes sense. When something becomes expensive, people buy less of that good. And if something becomes cheaper, the quantity demanded is going to go up. So people can afford to buy, more people can afford, and more people are willing to buy the product when it's cheaper. Hence, the demand curve is going to look like this. When you draw the diagram, you put price on the vertical axis and you put the quantity, in this case it's quantity demanded, on the horizontal axis. The demand curve is going to look like this. So this is a demand curve, slopes down from left to right, where at high prices, this is a high price P, the quantity demanded is quite low. But if the price is down here, let me call this P1, the quantity demanded is quite high. All right, so this is the law of demand. At high prices, the quantity demanded is low. At low prices, the quantity demanded is high. The quantity demanded is different from the demand. The demand is the entire points at which you have different prices and different quantities. The quantity demanded is a specific point. This would be a quantity demanded at point A. This would be a quantity demanded at point B. The quantity demanded is affected by price. So the quantity demanded is affected by price. But demand, the shifting of this entire demand curve, whether it increases, this will be an increase in demand. Okay, this is affected by things like your income. Okay, these things like your income. Something from a theoretical perspective, you know that income, the more money you have, the higher your demand. The less money you have, the lower your demand. But when you talk about income, make sure you understand the difference between normal and inferior goods. Normal versus inferior goods. Normal versus inferior goods, right? For normal goods, this is the case. If the income goes up, the demand is going to increase, it shift to the right. But for inferior goods, it's the opposite. Income and demand have a negative relationship. So if the income goes down for inferior goods, for income goes down, a decrease in income, it increases demand. But for normal goods, when income goes up, it increases demand. So just know that the normal goods and inferior goods are the opposite. Inferior goods, income and demand have a negative relationship. That's one thing that shifts the demand, all right? The other thing that shifts the demand, it's the availability of substitutes and complements. So these related products, substitutes and complements. So this is the second one. The substitutes are something like your Samsung phone and your iPhone, okay, assuming everything else constant. If the price of iPhone goes up, because iPhone is becoming expensive and less people can afford that, remember you need a willingness and an ability to pay, it means that the demand for Samsung is also going to go up. People are going to now buy the substitute. So take a look at substitutes and complements, and also look at the other factors that will shift the demand. I'm not going to go into detail with that theory. Then we talk about the supply. The supply looks at the goods that a firm has the capacity to produce. So they are willing and able to produce. They have to have that capacity to put the products on the market. And then the law of supply is pretty straightforward. The firms will make more products if they're making money out of it. So the law of supply is such that price and quantity supplied have a positive or a direct relationship. So if the prices go up, the quantity supplied would also go up. Price go down, the quantity supplied would also go down, and hence you draw the supply curve. Price on this axis, let me write it in full, quantity on this axis, and it slopes upwards from left to right to say at low prices, P1 here, the quantity supplied is low, but if prices are higher, the firms are willing and able to sell more. They will be selling more. The quantity supplied is along the curve, and when you join the different prices and quantities, you get the supply curve. Okay, so that is the supply curve. And the things that shift supply, just think of things that affect production, like the price of factors of production. Wages are considered a cost in production because you are paying people for doing something. So it's not income, it's a cost in production. So things like wages, things like technology, things like technology, productivity of labor, and so forth. These are things that will shift the supply. So the theory, like I said, it's not the agenda for this course. If you want me to explain the theory more, just drop a comment and then I'll explain the theory for you. All right. So what I want to get into detail with is the shift in the demand and supply. And in this instance, I'm going to focus on the simultaneous shift of demand and supply. All right. And as I talk about the shift, I'll be giving examples of what is causing that particular shift. All right. I'm going to draw a demand and supply curve. I always tell my students, you should always start by drawing this. So this first part of the graph, you don't even have to think. You must know. You must get to a point where you just know. Before you answer the question, you draw this, you label it, your price on this axis, whether it's rands or dollars, whatever currency you're using, and then the quantity on this axis. All right, this is the quantity. And then the demand curve, you must know it looks like this. This is the demand curve, and then this is the supply curve. It slopes upwards. So this is something that you get free marks for, because the lecturer is going to mark you for drawing this. But this, you must, with enough practice, it must just come naturally, right? The equilibrium is where they meet. Remember, the equilibrium is the point at which the quantity demanded is equal to the quantity supplied. So for ease of reference, I'm going to call this supply 1 and demand 1. The equilibrium price, I'm going to call it P1, and the equilibrium quantity, I'm going to call it Q1. This is equilibrium 1. Now, let's assume there's a simultaneous shift. Simultaneous shift means there are two shifts happening at the same time. That's what simultaneous means. So let's assume there is a decrease in supply. Let's say there's a decrease in supply. Decrease in supply. What could cause this decrease in supply? So there are a lot of factors that would cause a decrease in supply. Something like maybe an increase in the price of a factor of production, maybe an increase in wages, maybe a drop in the productivity of labor. If it's sector specific, maybe there is a drought or there is bad weather. So we can say there is bad weather, which results in a low productivity. These things could shift the supply curve, decrease the supply. If the supply curve decreases, it's going to shift the supply curve to the left, it will shift in this direction. This is a decrease in supply. And one, that's the first effect. The second effect, let's say there's an increase in demand. So let's say it's a normal good and there's been, for instance, an increase in income, for example, or two, there is an increase in the number of households, or these are examples of things that would actually shift the demand curve. Increase in income for a normal good, increase in the number of households, or there is the prices are expected to increase, future prices expected, increase in expected future prices. This also increases the demand today. All right, so I'm going to use a different color to show the increase in demand. I'm going to use a different color to show the increase in demand and a decrease in supply. Remember, a decrease in supply is going to shift the supply curve in this direction. All right, and an increase in demand is going to shift the demand in this direction. So the demand curve is going to shift in this direction. All right, so this is the new demand curve. The supply curve has shifted like this. The demand curve has increased in this direction. The new equilibrium is where the new supply meets the new demand, which would be this point here. All right, and you see here that the new equilibrium, I'll call this E2, it happens at a higher price. But the quantity is a bit tricky now, because on the new equilibrium here, the quantity looks like it hasn't changed. Okay, so this is a bit tricky. Your supply has decreased, your demand has increased. We see for sure that the price goes up, but it seems like the quantity has not changed, right? The change of the quantity in this instance is going to depend on the extent of the shift of the curve. What I like doing personally to avoid confusion, I like drawing the graphs separately so that I can see the shifts. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw these graphs separately and show you how I would come to a conclusion. Okay, so let me do this. I'm going to draw them separately. Let me draw this graph where there's the decrease in supply and an increase in demand. All right, so let me draw here. Price, quantity, demand, supply, equilibrium here. Demand 1, supply 1, equilibrium 1. Decrease in supply, it shifts to the left like this. So this is a decrease in supply. You can see here that you have a new equilibrium E2 where they meet here. The price P1, P2. So you can see the price is going up. Okay, and the quantity Q1, Q2 here, you can see that the quantity is going down. So basically, what you see from this graph where there's a decrease in supply, you see that the price here has gone up. The quantity has gone down. Okay, take note of this. Then we go to the increase in demand. Same thing, price, quantity. We always start by drawing this, the demand curve 1, supply curve 1. There's an increase in demand, so it shifts this way. Demand 2, equilibrium 2, equilibrium 1. The price, you see, price 1 and price 2. You're going to see that in this case, the price again has gone up, and the quantity also has gone up. So there's an increase in price here, and there is an increase in quantity. The price and the price, they both go up on the different graphs. So you know for sure that your price will definitely go up. However, the quantity goes down here, the quantity goes up here. The conclusion you make, if you are not told which effect is greater, is that the final quantity is going to be indeterminate or uncertain. You can't know for sure what the final quantity is going to be. It could be the same, it could increase, it would decrease. If they tell you something like the demand increases twice as much as the decrease in supply, then you know that the quantity is going to go up. Or if they say the supply increases more than the increase in demand, then you know that the quantity is going to go down. But without that information, the eventual quantity is indeterminate. Okay, just pause, redraw this, and make sure you understand the story here. All right, so what I want to do is a final example. Let me look at the two effects now, but in this instance, I'm going to look at an increase of both demand and supply. Let's say the supply increases, so there's an increase in supply, and there's also an increase in demand. I'm going to draw this. I want you to try them first before you come to my solution, but I'm going to quickly just go through this. All right, so price, quantity, your supply curve goes up like this, your demand curve goes down like this. This is the equilibrium price, this is the equilibrium quantity, demand 1, supply 1. Increase in supply, the supply curve is shifting in this direction, so this is the new price. There's a decrease here, and this is the first equilibrium, this is the second equilibrium. You see that the quantity is actually increasing, moving from here to there. So the price, you see here that the price has gone down and the quantity has gone up. That's the effect of an increase in supply. Then you go to the demand part, same thing here, quantity on this side, price on this side. The demand curve slopes downwards, the supply curve slopes upwards. We say there's an increase in demand. We drew this in the previous video. Demand 1, demand 2 shifts to the right like this. This is the initial supply. Initial equilibrium is here. The new equilibrium is here. So the price is going to go up from P1 to P2. So there's an increase in price. And the quantity also, you can see, quantity goes from here to here. So there's an increase in, so the price goes up, you see here. The quantity also goes up. So think about it. What is the final effect on the equilibrium price and quantity if these effects are simultaneous? Think about it. Okay. The obvious conclusion is that because quantity increases here when there's an increase in demand and quantity increases here when there's an increase in supply, we know for sure that the final quantity is going to go up. However, the price decreases for supply and the price increases for demand. So the final price, we don't know. It's going to be indeterminate or uncertain. If they do tell you that supply increases by a greater magnitude than demand, then you know for sure that the price is going to go down. If they say the demand increases by a greater magnitude than supply, then you know that the price will definitely go up. But if they say they actually increase by the same magnitude, then you know that the final price is going to be the same. The price will not change because these are moving in different directions. If this information is not given, the final price is uncertain, the final price is indeterminate. All right, so whenever you feel confused, pause the video, go back, take a look at it. And I really hope you enjoyed this session. But for now, Mr. Mash is out. Enjoy economics.